On this Sunday night, the final whistle on the World Cup. The matchup and the Americana that captivated crowds across the globe. All hands on deck in Alberta.
I couldn't imagine what the parents are feeling right now.
The massive mobilization to find a missing boy. Escalation in the Middle East. More strikes between the U.S. and Iran as more American troops are killed. Plus, caught offside.
Very quickly, we came to realize how it would have a negative impact on us.
The host city sectors sidelined by the World Cup windfall.
Global National. Reporting tonight, Sarah McDonald.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The World Cup champion has been crowned. After a thrilling match, Spain has won the FIFA World Cup. Celebrations from thousands packing the streets of the capital, Madrid, as Spain defeated Argentina 1-0 in a fantastic final matchup that went into extra time. The World Cup win, Spain's second, having won one in 2010, caps off weeks of competition among the world's best soccer teams, including Canada, with games spread out right across North America. No matter who they were cheering for, the passion and excitement of soccer fans could not be contained here in Canada. Weeks after Vancouver and Toronto wrapped up their host city duties, thousands showing up to the FIFA fan festivals to watch the tournament's grand finale. Now, there had been concerns that today's game would have to be delayed because of smoke from wildfires burning here in Canada and spilling into the air over New Jersey, where Spain and Argentina faced off. But the rains came overnight and the skies cleared just in time for the big show in more ways than one, as the world's biggest celebration of soccer came to a close. Here's Candice Cole.
Excited fans lined up for hours before the start of Sunday's final World Cup matchup between Spain and Argentina at New York, New Jersey Stadium, big enough to house over 82,000 soccer fans.
It's going to be history. It's going to be the best day of my life.
This is like one day in a lifetime. We're expecting amazing things, we're missing entertainment, we're missing excitement, we're expecting passion and emotion, and so we'll remember forever.
This year's World Cup final has become the highest priced sporting event in U.S. history, according to Forbes, with tickets for the game ranging from just below $7,000 to over $10 grand. Along with all the fanfare, security measures took a front row seat as the three leaders of North America, U.S. President Donald Trump, Prime Minister Mark Carney, and Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum, attended the game alongside Spain's royal family and the FIFA president.
We have been preparing for this for literally over a year, over 1,000 exercises, table-topping all the scenarios. So we're with the best, and particularly with NYPD, the world's greatest police force. I feel very confident in our security.
It has been so wonderful to see people from across the world come here and enjoy New Jersey.
This World Cup final also featured a halftime show starring Madonna and Justin Bieber, a first for the game that hasn't gone over well with some soccer fans.
I want to whine and complain about the halftime show. I don't like it. Just let me see the football. But it's what you do now, right? In big events, they want to copy the Super Bowl in many facets. And this will be a thing moving forward at big tournaments.
In many ways, Sunday's game can be seen as a full circle moment, with Team Argentina fan favorite 39-year-old Lionel Messi passing the torch to Spain's Lamine Yamal, pictured here as a baby being held by Messi some 19 years ago. The next World Cup won't be until 2030, marking the 100-year anniversary of the tournament. Candice Cole, Global News, Washington.
And some sad news from the Canadian Football League tonight. Saskatchewan Roughriders linebacker and team captain Jaden Dulkkey has died. The team confirmed the news on social media, saying Dulkkey was killed in a car accident on Saturday night. Dulkkey was drafted by the Roughriders in 2022 and won a Grey Cup with the team just this past November. He was 30 years old. The search for an 11-year-old boy in Calgary is now in its fourth day. Parker, who is on the autism spectrum, has been missing since Thursday morning after walking away from his day home in the city's northwest. He was later captured on CCTV footage a few kilometers away that same afternoon. Here's Heather Yourex-West with the latest on the search.
It's not often you see police blasting songs from The Lion King or Frozen down a neighborhood street. Calgary police hoping the Disney music will help find 11-year-old Parker, missing since Thursday.
We continue to remain committed to finding Parker and bringing him home, and this investigation will continue until Parker is found.
Using this Northwest Calgary school as a command center, hundreds of city police, RCMP, and Calgary search and rescue personnel continue a citywide search for Parker, who is on the autism spectrum. In a statement released Saturday, his family said their hearts were broken by his disappearance. Parker experiences the world in his own way. He may not respond when his name is called, and he can become frightened when approached by people he does not know.
I couldn't imagine what the parents are feeling right now, so I just wanted to come out and do what we could.
I have a son of that age. I'm sorry, that's like a worst nightmare as a parent, so I want to do what I can.
Police welcoming the additional support, asking all Calgarians to check their own properties for any sign of a little boy.
It's been less than a year since another young Alberta boy on the autism spectrum also went missing. 6-year-old Darius McDougall had been camping with his family in the Crow's Nest Pass when he disappeared. Almost 10 months later, he has still not been found.
His disappearance was met with a massive ground search, but because the criteria for an Amber Alert was not met, the system was not deployed. Darius's family has been advocating for change.
We want to see that every child, no matter where the person they are, gets an Amber Alert. It doesn't matter what kind of child it is. It doesn't matter where they're at. They should have an Amber Alert to say that they're out there missing somewhere.
In Parker's case, the provincial government issued special permission for an Amber Alert on Saturday, 2 days after his disappearance, as the city searches for any sign of this vulnerable child, hoping to bring 11-year-old Parker home. Heather, Yourex-West, Global News, Calgary.
And Ontario is expanding access to its Alert Ready system for municipalities and First Nations to request emergency messages be sent to residents as wildfires continue to burn across the province. Today, Prime Minister Mark Carney visited federal workers in Ottawa, helping with response efforts to wildfires. Carney says more than 5,000 firefighters and nearly 300 aircraft are helping to battle blazes right across the country in one of the most intense fire seasons already on record. Overnight in northwestern Ontario, at least 8 new fires were discovered, while in other parts of the country, more favorable conditions have helped to slow fire activity. And this tornado touched down in central Alberta yesterday in the town of Rocky Mountain House. There was significant damage to homes, trees, and roads, according to local officials, but the good news is no injuries were reported. And the country's wildfire crisis will be front and center at the Premier's meeting in PEI this week. The leaders will gather in Charlottetown for 3 days of talks starting Tuesday. Our chief political correspondent, David Aiken, will be there. And David, no shortage of items on the agenda in Atlantic Canada.
Canada's premiers will have plenty to talk about, Sarah, starting with wildfires in BC, Ontario, and Nova Scotia, and a discussion about how federal and provincial governments can do even more to coordinate their responses to what has clearly become annual regional crises. But there will be much more. Premiers will start their meetings Tuesday by gathering with Indigenous leaders, a chance for First Nations, Inuit, and Métis representatives to spend a few hours sorting out any thorns in their relationship with provincial authorities. The 13 premiers will then meet all day on their own on Wednesday. Top issues will be finding a way to finally eliminate interprovincial trade barriers, such as barriers on interprovincial liquor sales. Provinces have been slow to fulfill promises made more than a year ago to cut trade barriers, and premiers will be looking to accelerate progress on that front. Then on Thursday, Prime Minister Mark Carney is expected to join the premiers, and they will certainly talk about trade, but many premiers will also be telling the PM they need more help on health care. Some premiers have their own unique priorities. Alberta's Daniel Smith, for example, wants more flexibility on federal support for childcare. BC's David Eby is pushing Ottawa to bring in new criminal justice laws to give the RCMP new tools to bust up extortion rackets run by organized crime. And Newfoundland's Tony Wakeham, well, he wants a new floating dry dock built on the province's east coast. It will also be the first and possibly only First Ministers meeting for Quebec Premier Christine Frechette. Her party is on track to lose government this fall to the separatist Parti Québécois. A PQ win this fall, combined with the referendum already underway in Alberta, means the premiers and the PM may have to begin to address a national unity crisis that could mushroom by summer's end. Sarah.
David Aiken in Ottawa. Thanks, David. The federal government says it will temporarily bar entry by foreign nationals who visited the Democratic Republic of the Congo within the past 21 days. The move is to help mitigate the risk of importing the Ebola virus. The measures take effect tomorrow night. The number of confirmed Ebola cases in Congo has now surpassed 2,100 since the beginning of the outbreak. A group of international students took to the streets of Montreal today, demanding answers they might not get. 4 private colleges abruptly closed earlier this month after the province revoked the school's permits. Many international students were midway through their programs, and as Phil Carpenter explains, their immigration and their education status is now in limbo.
After more than a year of studies and tens of thousands of dollars, some foreign students like Samia Shreibi from Morocco have no idea what their next step will be.
This summer, in 2-3 weeks, I would have had my diploma.
But now that diploma, as well as her immigration status, are in limbo. More than a week ago, Montreal Superior College, along with 3 other private colleges in the province, abruptly closed after the provincial government suspended their permits. Sunday, many of the students held a protest in front of the Montreal Superior College to demand answers.
They had issues with the government. It's literally not our problem, unfortunately.
The schools closed just as many students were set to graduate with diplomas and get started on internships. Because their schools are closed, they can't finish their studies or extend their study and work permits for the internships.
It's terrible. It's sad because we made a lot of efforts to come here.
Students say the Education Ministry sent them a letter suggesting other schools where they could complete their studies. According to the students, though, some of those institutions want them to wait until October.
And we don't have enough time for our paper to wait until October.
Their work and study permits expire long before then. They also marched to the Immigration Ministry's Montreal office to express their frustration. Opposition parties have blasted the government for leaving the students in such a lurch and for not providing clarity.
The reasons of those suspensions were not clearly answered or given to anyone. So the students are also having those questions.
Global News did not hear back from the government before deadline. Meanwhile, the students are getting increasingly anxious.
We don't have a dream anymore. We don't have anything anymore. We don't know what we have to do. We don't know what we can do. So it's stressful.
Phil Carpenter, Global News, Montreal.
In the Middle East, the war between the United States and Iran is escalating tonight, compounded by the deaths of American soldiers. Coming up, bracing for another night of strikes as another U.S. soldier dies amid conflicting narratives around civilian targets. U.S. Central Command says a U.S. service member has died in northern Iraq during a controlled detonation of a downed Iranian drone. It brings the total U.S. military deaths in the conflict to at least 17. 2 other American soldiers were killed Friday in an Iranian attack in Jordan. And tonight, U.S. authorities say unidentified remains that could belong to a missing soldier have now been found. Washington is launching more airstrikes at Iran in response. Vincent McAviney now with the latest developments.
Preparations for another night of strikes on Iran. US fighter jets, drones and missiles once again targeted Iranian military coastal surveillance and air defense facilities. They also hit the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps forces that launched attacks killing 2 US service members in Jordan on Friday. The deaths were the first of US soldiers since June's truce unraveled. The US also reportedly hit the construction site for a nuclear power plant in Darkovan, southwest Iran. The International Atomic Energy Agency is investigating, but it's unclear if there was any nuclear material on site. In response, Iran launched more attacks on several of Washington's Gulf allies and Jordan, escalating the war 1 week after a ceasefire collapsed. The destruction in Kuwait evident, with an oil facility significantly damaged and workers injured after repeated Iranian strikes. With allies suffering and no clear end to the conflict in sight, Democrats in Washington are venting their frustration with the Trump administration.
Gets me particularly crazy because we're using missiles that cost $2.5 million to shoot down Iranian drones that cost $50,000. You know, gas is now back up to $4. That's $1.20 more than it was, at least in Virginia when the war started. And there is no plan on how we keep the strait open.
Bank of America is predicting even if a sustained peace deal was achieved soon, the economic damage is likely to last for several years.
Our team has inflation staying higher all the way into 27, 28, and why the Federal Reserve will probably, our belief was will raise rates, whereas 6 months ago they thought the Fed would be cutting rates.
With further disruption to shipping reported in the Strait today, the economic toll continues to climb. Vincent McAviney, Global News, London.
And Russia has carried out a major ballistic missile attack on Ukrainian cities, killing 5 people and wounding dozens more. Strikes hit the capital Kyiv overnight, killing at least 1 person and injuring 9 others while sparking fires across the city. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called the raid one of the biggest ballistic attacks on the capital since the start of the war. 4 people were also killed in strikes in the northeastern city of Kharkiv.
For the condos, the numbers aren't working.
Ahead, housing start, slow down, how the country's construction landscape is shifting. New housing construction has slowed across the country this year, and it's condo development taking the biggest hit. Jacqueline Hansen has more on how residential construction is changing and still short on supply.
In Canada's biggest city, the number of condo projects under construction used to tower above other types of residential real estate. But for the past 4 months, no condos broke ground in Toronto at all.
For the condos, the numbers aren't working.
Developers aren't seeing anywhere near the same demand for pre-construction condos as they used to. There are more existing units sitting on the market. Interest rates are still above pre-pandemic levels. Immigration has dropped and economic uncertainty remains high.
Everyone is kind of on hold.
As a result, overall construction is also slowing, and it's shifted.
The entire housing market has evolved over the last few years.
Across major metro areas in the country, condo construction that once dominated has declined. And last year, construction of rentals took over and took off.
We've started a number of purpose-built rental projects. A couple of them were probably going to be condos at one point in time, but they flipped over to purpose-built rentals.
Tax breaks on purpose-built rental construction likely swayed some developers.
Growing the purpose-built rental stock is tackling an issue that for major markets like Toronto or Vancouver, that was undersupplied.
But even with the surge in rental construction, housing supply in Canada is still falling well short of what's needed to improve affordability. The CMHC estimates the number of new units started each year would need to double from about 240,000 last year to at least 430,000.
We are nowhere near a situation where we're going to fill that gap anywhere soon.
In some cities, breaking ground on big projects can take years, which also drives up costs.
And you imagine a site like this, where you're prime downtown land, it's not cheap land, and you're carrying a mortgage on that land. The interest on that is staggering.
Making the math on construction and on solving Canada's chronic housing affordability problem that much more challenging. Jacqueline Hansen, Global News, Toronto.
The World Cup was a competitor to local entertainment options.
Next, missing the mark, the business owners in the red after the World Cup.
The day before the final, it is pouring rain, tons of lightning.
Talk about dedication. Saskatoon's Lee Cormish has completed his goal of watching World Cup games in all 16 stadiums. And today, he had one last ticket to the final in New Jersey. Over several weeks, the World Cup has captivated millions of Canadians here and around the world. That's on top of injecting a surplus of tourist dollars into certain sectors of its host cities. But not all walked away winners. The World Cup has now officially wrapped. But the final whistle on FIFA in the tournament's 2 Canadian host cities was blown nearly 2 weeks ago, with Vancouver and Toronto now past the teardown stage, looking to sustain economic gains.
What we learned about a World Cup crowd is that crowd was really looking for beers, wings, nachos, that kind of pub food.
And while bars and restaurants serving all that up benefited big time from the World Cup craze, other businesses bracing for a boost were left sorely disappointed instead.
Unfortunately, very quickly, we came to realize how it would have a negative impact on us.
A dramatic drop in revenue, no laughing matter for this popular comedy club in Vancouver's downtown core that saw a 70% drop in business on its busiest nights.
The World Cup was a competitor to local entertainment options as opposed to one that would attract more people to the city.
Games-related road closures hindering foot traffic so badly for this aquarium supply store within BC Place Stadium's security zone.
We don't really coincide with selling soccer merch or offering drinks.
It ended up closing shop entirely on all 7 match days.
People might come in to look, but it's not really helping us stay afloat if they're not spending the money.
Hotel bookings in both host cities also not seeing a long-anticipated surge, with occupancy rates stagnating at around 80% in Toronto and even dropping some 15% from June of last year in Vancouver.
Literally the day after the turf started to roll up at BC Place, we had 2 big citywide conferences come to Vancouver. 4,000 people came in, and so that's the start of a really strong back half conventions business season.
So while select sectors may be looking to ride out the World Cup windfall, others won't be sad to see the games go, focusing instead on financial recovery and recouping peak season losses. And that is Global National for this Sunday night. I'm Sarah McDonald. Tonight's Your Canada is the Saskatchewan Legislative Building in Regina. Thanks for joining us this weekend. Donna is back with you tomorrow. Have a great night.